If you've ever woken up in the middle of the night and felt like something was standing just outside your door, this video is going to wreck you a little. These are 3 true stories sent in by real people, and I need to warn you now. Story number 2 involves a phone call that should not have been possible. Stick around for that one, because it still doesn't fully make sense, even to the guy it happened to. Let's get into it. Story 1. The hands on the door frame. Growing up, our narrator couldn't wait to get out of his parents' house. His dad had a drinking problem that got worse every weekend, his mom wasn't exactly a buffer, and the two of them fought constantly. By the time he hit his late teens, home didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like somewhere to escape from. So the second he had a real shot at independence, he took it. At 19, still commuting to a local college because his parents wouldn't fund anything fancier, he started hunting for his own place. Every listing site you can think of. He was on all of them, every single day, until he finally found a rental that actually fit his budget. The apartment itself is worth describing, because the layout matters later. Walking in, you hit an open living room and dining area first, with the kitchen just off to the side behind a wall. A hallway led back toward the bedroom, passing 2 closets along the way. One turned into a makeshift pantry, one for storage, and the bathroom door. At the very end of that hallway sat the bedroom, spacious enough for a queen bed with room to spare. He signed the lease almost on the spot. A few months into living alone, life was good. Normal even. Then, one night out with friends, he ran into a girl he'd known from school for years but never really hung out with one-on-one. We'll call her Emily. They ended up back at his place, a couple drinks in, half watching a movie that eventually moved from the couch to the bedroom. Nothing happened beyond that. She wasn't ready to take things further, and he respected it completely. At some point, both of them just passed out. He woke up to footsteps in the hallway. Middle of the night. He reached over. Empty bed. Looking down the hall, he spotted Emily in the living room, quietly gathering her things off the couch, clearly trying to slip out without an awkward morning-after conversation. Fair enough. He let her go, called her name once just to be polite, got no answer, and drifted back to sleep once he heard the front door. About an hour later, a loud noise jolted him awake. His heart was already pounding before he even opened his eyes. He called out her name again. Nothing. So, half scared and fully aware of how ridiculous it sounded, he texted her to text if she was somehow still in the apartment. The bedroom door was still open, since he'd been too tipsy to bother closing it after she left. And in the dim light bleeding in from the hallway, he thought he saw something wrapped around the edge of the door frame. He grabbed his phone, swiped down for the flashlight, and pointed it straight at the frame. 2 hands, wrapped around the edge of his bedroom door. The second the light hit them, they tightened for a split second, then yanked backward, out of view. And the scream he'd been choking back finally tore out of him. He flipped on every light in the apartment and searched it top to bottom. Closets, bathroom, behind the couch, under the tables, even the low kitchen cabinets. Nothing. No one. And here's the part that still bothers him. He never heard the front door open or close. He called Emily, who picked up groggy and confused, confirming she'd left a while ago. He called his best friend next, who chalked the whole thing up to sleep deprivation and leftover alcohol. A hypnagogic hallucination. Basically, a waking dream. It made sense. Enough sense to let him fall back asleep anyway. The next morning, he searched the apartment again in the daylight. Clear. But something nagged at him. So he walked back to that door frame and actually looked at it closely. Fingerprints. Real ones. Sitting in the exact spot where he'd seen those hands. It wasn't a hallucination. He never figured out who was in his apartment that night, or why. Out of everything they could have done, they chose to do the one thing guaranteed to haunt him for years. He finished out the lease and moved as soon as he could. If a story like this is already getting under your skin, hit that like button now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who love this stuff as much as you do. And 2 more stories are coming, so make sure you're subscribed before we go any further. Story 2. The call from inside the house. This next account belongs to a guy we'll call Marcus, and out of the 3 stories tonight, this is the one that still doesn't add up. Marcus basically grew up alone. His dad traveled constantly for work, his mom was rarely home in the evenings, and by 16, he was essentially running the household solo, cooking for himself, watching TV by himself, spending entire weekends without seeing another soul in the house. As an only child, he leaned into it. Freedom, privacy, no one checking in on him. For a teenager, that sounded like a dream. He knew every creak and groan that old, oversized house made. Nothing about it usually scared him. One night, his dad was out of town and his mom was staying at his aunt's for a family thing the next day. "Just you tonight," she'd told him, like it needed saying. He didn't think twice about it. Made dinner, watched TV, went up to his room around 11 to scroll his phone in bed with the door left open, a habit his parents encouraged so he'd stay tuned in to the house's sounds at night. About an hour later, his phone rang. No caller ID. He'd genuinely never seen that before. It rang again immediately after he ignored it, which is what made him answer. Figured if it mattered, they'd try twice. Silence on the other end. Then, faintly, a TV playing in the background of the call, which was strange because he could also faintly hear his own TV downstairs. He'd left it on low volume in the living room. He said hello again. No response. Just that TV sound. Then it hit him. The audio through the phone wasn't just similar to his TV, it was perfectly synced. Same moments, same timing, no delay whatsoever. Which meant only one thing. Whoever was calling him could hear his TV in real time. They were inside the house. He got up, walked to his door, listened, and yeah, the sync was unmistakable. In a moment of pure panic logic, he shouted down the stairs, "Who's down there?" Half convinced it was a family member messing with him. The line went dead. He locked his door, then started calling his dad. No answer. Tried again, still nothing. He called his uncle instead, who picked up groggy and immediately confused by the accusation that he might be the one hiding downstairs. While they were on the phone, Marcus's phone buzzed with a second incoming call. No caller ID again. He put his uncle on hold and answered. Same silence. No TV audio this time. Instead, footsteps. And those footsteps matched, beat for beat, footsteps he could now hear approaching his bedroom door in real life. He merged the calls and screamed for his uncle to get to the house immediately, explaining that whoever was inside was also the one on the phone. His uncle, now fully awake and furious, started shouting threats down the line. The caller hung up. The footsteps retreated. His uncle told him to stay put and lock himself in, then headed straight over. Those 7 minutes felt endless. When his uncle finally arrived and they cleared the house together with the police afterward, they found the kitchen window wide open, plenty big enough for someone to climb through. Here's the twist. Police traced the anonymous number a few days later, back to an old high school acquaintance, someone Marcus barely knew anymore. When confronted, the guy denied everything and claimed his phone had been stolen at a party days earlier, though he'd never bothered reporting it. No arrest, no real answers, just a nervous kid at a doorstep and a story that never fully closed. Which, honestly, might be scarier. Because if his phone really was stolen, that means someone deliberately took it just to call Marcus and break into that house. All right, pause for a second. If you're the type who reads every comment on videos like this, Drop your own theory on what actually happened in that second story. I read every single one, and some of you come up with theories creepier than the stories themselves. Story 3. The shape in the basement. Last one. A group of friends in their early 20s, Derek, Randy, Jake, and our narrator, were doing what they always did on a Saturday, pre-gaming at Derek's place before heading out to the bars. Derek's basement was the go-to spot, partly because his parents were relaxed about it, partly because it muffled the noise. After a night of bar hopping, our narrator and Derek called it early and Ubered back while Randy and Jake stayed out. Derek set him up with the pull-out couch in the basement. They played a round of Madden, badly on his part, and then Derek headed upstairs, shutting the door behind him. The only light down there came from a cable box clock, the TV's standby light, and the faint green glow of a mini fridge humming quietly in the corner. That hum lulled him straight to sleep. He woke up hours later, mouth completely dry from the alcohol, kicking himself for not bringing water down. Too tired to get up right away, he rolled over toward the mini fridge, hoping for anything non-alcoholic. Nothing. Then his eyes drifted to the opposite corner of the room. There was a shape there, dark, solid, low to the ground, something he was sure hadn't been there before. He assumed his eyes were adjusting badly to the dark, waited for it to resolve into a coat rack or a pile of clothes. It moved. It was a person, and based on the size alone, he knew immediately it wasn't Derek. He forced himself not to react. Instead, he sat up slowly, faked a yawn, muttered something about needing water, and started walking, deliberately calm, toward the stairs, which happened to be closer to the figure than he would have liked. He didn't run. He walked like someone who hadn't noticed a thing. Halfway up the stairs, he risked a glance back down. The shape was now at the bottom of the stairs. Definitely a person. He bolted the rest of the way up, slammed the basement door, and ran straight to Derek's room, shaking him awake and telling him someone was in the basement. As Derek scrambled to wake his dad, they heard a slam from downstairs. Derek's dad didn't ask a single question. He was down both flights of stairs immediately and found the basement door standing wide open, despite our narrator swearing he'd shut it. The back door to the house was open too. The three of them searched the yard, the neighboring yards, all while Derek was already on the phone with 911. Police arrived, searched the property, and filed the report. By the end of it, half the neighborhood was outside asking what happened. Our narrator called an Uber home that night and never slept in that basement again. Not once, not even years later, without glancing at that corner of the room and thinking about the shape that had been watching him sleep. If any of these three got to you, you already know what to do. Like the video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, this is exactly the kind of channel you'll want notifications on for, because these stories come from real people and real submissions every single week. Comment which one messed with you the most, because I genuinely want to know. Whatever was in that hallway, on that phone call, or in that basement corner, none of them ever got a real explanation. And maybe that's the part that stays with you longest, not knowing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.